Hello everyone, once again it's Psalmist here. In this video, I just want to speak to you about why a working couple cannot build a family. Because of the women's emancipation, because of women's rights and all that, most women now, in our day, are working women. So it means that you're most likely to find that in most families today, the husband works and the woman works. It's easy when a couple is married and then they don't have any children, so it's easy because they can just wake up every day and in the morning and take a shower and have breakfast and go to work, and then they come back. When they come back, there's no even need whether or not to cook. If they don't feel like cooking, they can just buy takeaways and all that. The problem becomes when there are children involved in the marriage. This changes the whole thing. And then, because maybe because I'm Christian, some women might say that I'm old fashioned, I should just lighten up. Well, remember, I'm saying that a working couple cannot build a family because a family is an institution. And in an institution, you have delegation of responsibilities. In a company, which is an institution, you have a CEO, you have a CFO, you have, a COO who is, you know, a chief operations officer who is actually involved in the actual operations of the company. You can never have two CEOs. You can never have two CFOs. You can never have two COOs. Why? Because there's gonna be a problem. You can have two people doing the same thing, and you're gonna have to pay them double the salary. You see, so in terms of the institution of the family, you have two people doing the same thing, which is what? Which is the provision of what is required and needed for the household to be maintained. So you have one job description, or one job role which is over complemented with people, but you have one other role in the family, which is an institution, which is under complemented or not even complemented at all. Why? Because there's no one doing it. You see, so you have a man and a woman who are working so that they could bring money into the house, so that they could bring resources into the house, so that the household could be maintained. But there's no one looking after the children. There's no one teaching the children anything. The problem is that we think that what children need to learn is in the schools. No, what children need to learn is in their culture. What children want to learn is in the schools, because what you want to learn is that you need to be trained adequately. You need to be formally trained so that you could have a skill, and this skill will enable you to earn a living. That's what you want. But what you need is something that is gonna guide you on how to live in life. In the school system, you don't get guided on how to live. You get developed in terms of a skill, and that skill gets perfected as you go up the school system, in terms of starting from primary school, high school, tertiary, which is university and college. So this skill gets perfected as you grow older, as you go up, until to a point where you decide whether you're going to be a scientist, or you're going to be a teacher, or you're going to be a doctor, because it gets perfected and fine-tuned. But in the schools, you don't get taught on how to respect a human being, or how to treat a woman, or how to treat a man. You don't get taught that. But these are fundamental values in which everyone must have. But these things were taught in the family, and they were not taught in terms of a man sitting in front of children and telling them, children, this is how you treat a human being. Of course, I'm not saying that this should not be done. In fact, I prefer that it should be done, because when you're doing it, then you have a right to expect the children to behave in the way that you have raised them. Because not only will you behaving in the way that you expect them to behave, you will also verbally teaching them. It means that because you are verbally teaching them, you can even give them tests to see whether they understand. But the most important test will be you observing how they live, so that you could see how they live. And then when they live in such a way that they don't reflect the way that you raised them, you can always pull them over and say, "Come here. That's not how I taught you." You understand? And because the woman and the man are working, they're not able to do this, and they're not able to culture their children. If they're Christian, they're not able to disciple their kids in terms of the Christian values, in terms of how they should know that they are saved. Possibly because the husband and the wife themselves are not saved, because if they were saved, they would not be working, both of them. It will be the husband who's working. You see? So that's why I'm saying that, their family, they can't build a family. They can't build a family because for a family to be built, first there's gonna be a need for someone to provide for the resources for the family: food, shelter, water, and clothing. That's usually the man. And then there has to be someone who's gonna use this thing, these clothes, these resources, so that if there's people, they could be the people could eat, they could be cooking, the children could be bathed and all that. But because a woman will say, because she has money, she can always get another person to do this on her behalf. But what she don't realize is that she's dedicating something or delegating something to another person who will not be able to do it in such a way that it should be done. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you're a woman and you claim that you love your children, like most women claim that they do, but in most cases, when women say that they love their kids, they're just saying that I love my kids enough to go out and work so that I could make money, and then so that I could, give them things which can only be bought by money. But you can't buy manners. You can't buy respect. You see, you can only teach it and demonstrate it so that your child can act like was. So most women, they will claim that they love their kids. But if you love your kids, why are you not raising them? Why? Because to raise a kid will be out of love. It won't be about money. It will be about love. And then your helper, the one whom you employ to look after your kids, cannot have the same love that you have for your kids. If you truly have love for your kids and you understand what love is. Because the thing that you really want to do in terms of raising kids, what you want to raise kids to be positive people who are going to contribute positively towards their society. Most people think that, to contribute positively, you have to have a lot of money. You have a lot of people who have a lot of money, but because they were not taught that when you have things you give to those who do not have, they keep all this money to themselves. You see why? Because they were not taught. So they were taught in the school system in terms of the skill, in terms of developing their talent, but their talent was only, the main aim of the talent was of developing the talent was so that they could be able to make money. So if they are able to make a lot of money, they will always keep this money to themselves. But you can have someone who has been taught that life is about adding value to other people. Life is about using your natural possessions in terms of talent and gifts to add value to other people. So you have these people who may not really have much, but are still giving to other people who don't have. Where does this come from? It comes from the values which are taught in the family. And you can't expect, because the only way that you can really expect that your children can turn out to be good in terms of values, which all human beings want. I mean, human beings want to be forgiven. They want to be loved. They want to be valued. This can only be taught, and they're not taught in the schools where parents believe that they send their children to school, they come back with great values. The only way you can make sure that your children have these values is if you first teach this person who's going to raise your children these values. But these are not tangible things in terms of saying that you're going to take your helper in the house through classes and then teach them values, and then you test them, and if they pass, and then you think they're going to teach your kids. Now, these are so internal that they just come out in the way that we live our lives. They're not really taught in terms of teaching in terms of a class or a training. Yes, you can go through this training. Parents can actually have classes in which they teach their kids values, but It is mostly about the way in which we live our lives, in the character that we have, and the kids, your kids, because they are mostly watching the way that you live. They watch you and observe and do likewise. You see, when you are with your child and you go shopping, and then every time when you go shopping, you always make sure that you spend some of the money for homeless people. So you will buy your own groceries and the things that you need, and you'll buy some food and some toiletry and stuff, and then you give to the homeless. And your child is watching. It's not like you're telling your child like son or daughter, you must always give to the poor. But your son is watching that, and they start to think that this is normal. This is normal. When you have things, you must give to others who don't have. So they normalize what is good. They normalize good values. But when your children are watching you and your husband, who are always at work, who are always doing things for the making of money, they normalize that. They think that the most important thing in life, if you're alive, you must just make money. So in the end, they become the product of your behavior. They will have a skill in terms of being taught in the school system so they can earn a living. But remember, we earn all these resources to ourselves. The question becomes, what are we going to do with these resources when we have them? And the direction to what we do, the resources that we have, comes from our hearts. And in our hearts, that's where our values are. You see? So, but when you have, working, husband and wife, they are able to teach these values to their children about love, about respect, about manners. You see, about acknowledging that, there's age differences. There are some things which you can speak about when your father is there, and there's something that you cannot speak about. The same way as sometimes, when you're an adult, when you're with your wife or your husband, there are things that when you want to say, you can't say them in front of the kids. And what should happen is that, adults, parents should always teach their children that when they are together, there are some times when the parents and the kids can be together, like supper, lunch, whatever, and doing extramaterial activities like playing on the swing or teaching your child how to ride a bicycle. But there, in most cases, you should always try to push your children away from you, especially when it's the two of you. So you're trying to teach them that we are adults, you're children. You shouldn't hear the things that we say to one another. You shouldn't see some things that we do with each other. You see, so they are able to differentiate between their adults and kids, and when adults are with adults, sometimes you must withdraw yourself from others so they could do and talk like adults freely. But you will never have a chance to do this because you wake up in the morning, you take your children, you bathe them, and then you send them to school, and then you go to work and you come back in the afternoon at 5 or 6, in the evening, and after that, it's supper time. You eat, and after that, you go to sleep. You sleep, and over the weekend, because most parents always realize that they need to spend time with their kids, but the problem is that what they do is that out of guilt or out of realizing that I'm not really adding any value or teaching my kids anything. So over the weekend, what they will do is that they will take the kids out to a fast food restaurant, which has like swings and stuff, which is McDonald's, where the children can play. But what they do is that they just take the kids, go to the restaurant, and when they get there, the kids will eat enough that because they in their mind they're thinking that we are teaching the kids something. But what they're gonna do is they're gonna end up letting the kids play in one of those play areas or play rooms from this fast food restaurant. But you're not teaching your kids anything, because what you should be doing with your kids is that you should be watching them. So when they do something good, you want that thing to continue. And when they do something bad, you stop them and discipline and teach them that you're not supposed to do that. You see, but if you're a child during that time when they're playing, they don't do anything wrong. When are you gonna teach them what is wrong? Because when they do wrong things at school, you're not there to see them. So how then can you say you have a family? You don't have a family. You have a man and a woman and a child. And these men and women are doing the same thing. But because we think that we are liberated, we are free, but we're not really thinking about, but if we're all working and making money, what kind of family is this? What about the children? The children are also just taken through the same thing. They just it's like you're breeding the children so that children can grow up and make money just like you. You don't guide them on how to make money. You don't guide them on what is a good way of making money, what is a moral way of making money. You're just showing them that all you have to do is just make money. Because and some people may think that in terms of when I'm saying that how what is a moral way of making money, they're gonna think that, well, you know, children will just think that because something is a crime, then they shouldn't, do it. But a moral way of making money can also mean that something which is you know good and moral. For example, a person who makes money in terms of making pornographic videos, it's not illegal to make pornography, but it's immoral. But when you have a daughter who understand that, to be successful, all you need to do is make money, they can look at that and think that that's even easy, because you don't have to go to school. You don't have any. You already have your body already. You don't even have to buy any stock. And it's not even like it's not the same as movies in which you need like a set, and this set has to be. No, you just have sex with someone and record it on a camera. And then if it makes money, then they make money. You see? So, but if you are a family, understand that these things has to be taught, that they are moral things and they're immoral things. And some immoral things are illegal. When you sell drugs, you're gonna be arrested. But some immoral things are not illegal. That means they are allowed to be done. They even have industries. You see that? So, but in a family where it's all about accumulation of money, the children are normalizing that in life all you have to do is make money. They can end up doing moral things which are legal, that means allowed by law, but they are immoral. You see, because some type of modeling is immoral, but it makes money. So at the end, your child can't be able to make money, but in a moral way. But the reason why they're able to do that without feeling any kind of, wrongdoing is because they have observed you that all you really care about is making money. You see, so that's why I'm saying that working couples cannot build a family. They can only have children, which of course, because people think that they have a family when they have children, and then they are able to spend probably a weekend with these children. They think that that's not a family. That is just a man and a woman who have children. You see, there must be someone watching the kids, teaching the kids what is good and what is bad, and disciplining them. You see, you cannot expect someone, a paid employer, to come and watch over your kids. She doesn't care or he doesn't care. He just wants to get paid. You see, so the only thing that is gonna make sure that maybe that the children break anything in the house, because you're gonna see that when you come back, well, the vase is broken, and they're gonna say, no, your son, broke it. But in terms of teaching the kid what is good and what is evil, and making sure that they also have the same feelings towards what is evil and have the same feelings towards what is good, you're not really building a family. Some of the reason why we have a nihilist generation is because they were not taught to believe in anything. The only thing that they should care about is making it. That's why a lot of young men and a lot of young women always talk about financial freedom. So it's always about money. If you have money, you're good to go. Nothing else should matter. You see, so you should do whatever you have to do to make money. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about your attitude towards other people groups. Don't worry about your attitude towards women. That's why a lot of young men just think that they can just throw money at a woman and then they can get the woman. And they think that all they have to do is just keep doing that because they think that it's all about money. They don't care about anything. They don't care about whether this person needs to be happy, whether this person needs to be valued. They think that if As if she calls me, she wants money. I mean, what does she want? I'm here. I'm making money. So what more does she want? Because it's almost like when parents prioritize making money, it's almost like there's only two things in life. It's about getting rich and being poor. If you have money, you've made it. If you're poor, you have failed. So the only thing that should make a person feel bad about their lives is if they are poor. And the only thing that should make a person feel good about their lives is if they are rich. So it may not be like to any person who's just, a normal mind to say, well, as long as we have money and then we're not struggling to get food and we have clothing and we can travel all corners of the earth, well, it's a good family. As long as we are able to laugh, it's a good family. A normal person will think like that. But if you think of what a family is in terms of looking in the past, in terms of how families were peaceful and united and one, you realize that a working couple cannot you know you know build a family, and the culture even dies down. That's why culture is dying. That's why most children are uncultured and lawless, because there's no one teaching them their culture. Culture was taught through the family, through the woman, showing how things are done in the culture. That's why at the end of the day, children have to rely on what is happening on television for role models. And at the end, they have to look at these pop stars as their cultural icons, because there's no more culture. There's just, pop culture. So that is all that I have to say about this topic, why a working couple cannot build a family. So if you have anything to say about this topic, you can leave your comments below. And then if you like receiving content like this, you can subscribe to my channel so you can continue receiving content like this. Thank you for listening.